Today we're going to look at Labyrinth War on Terror card by card. We hope you'll join us in exploring this amazing game. This is Legendary Tactics.
So Quartet.
This is an interesting one. Of course, it requires Abbas to be in effect, but it can be a good 1-2 punch if you have Abbas.
Oh, and that the troops are not an overstretch and no Islamist rule. So there's actually a fair bit of prerequisites.
Yes. You need to be, but troops not in overstretch is not that much of a problem because generally speaking, if there's no regime change happening at that moment, your troops are not in overstretch. That's usually what does it is regime changes. So, but no Islamist rule adjacent to Israel. And let's roll, and you can call me Al. That's not likely to happen probably anyway.
No,
so
yeah.
It's really just if Abbas has been played and troops not in overstretch. But man, what a bump! Yeah. 2 prestige and negative -3 funding.
Yeah, if the prerequisites were in effect, this is definitely one I'm plotting for sure.
Yes. Oh yeah. That's
as the jihadi.
Oh yeah, for sure. And as the U.S. player, this is one I would strongly consider, especially since it's only a 2-ops card, but the effect is, especially at the end of a turn,
it's quite powerful.
Oh, you drop.
Oh yeah,
Jeez.
you can just hamstring the jihadi.
Yeah, but even mid-turn, this is be a funding drop that I'd be willing to hit earlier on in the turn. Typically, I like holding funding cards that hamper funding until later on, but this one I'd be willing to play it earlier because losing 3 funding, that would certainly distract the jihadist for a while. And
well, it could also actually mean that they can't put men on, cells on the board.
Yeah, exactly. So you can.
So that's another.
You take their funding down from 5 to 2, and now suddenly they've got a scramble, right? And
it's for the jihadis. Generally, though, you can mitigate this card fairly easily. You can make sure it gets played before all the conditions are met.
Yes, yeah, or it becomes a first plot. So yeah, but 2-ops. I mean, yeah, if you it's great, but. 2-ops is only 2-ops, so you're not giving up too much.
No.
Next one.
Okay, so Saddam Captured picked the wrong hide hole today.
Yes.
Oh boy. I guess he got busted.
Yes. This one is, again, it's...
Play of troops in Iraq. Place 1 aid there, 1 prestige, block Saddam, and FRE's
and
event.
modify FRE's event. So Saddam is a funding boost card. We haven't covered that yet on this series, but it's a funding boost. Placing an aid and a prestige, yeah, sure. I mean, but man, if you got to have troops in Iraq. So again, it's very situations, specific. I've
generally not been fearful of this card playing the jihadis mostly, so that's not one that. Because you generally don't have that requisite.
Yeah,
so.
I just find in the games that I've played anyway, Iraq is usually the one that goes to Islamist regime to win the game. So it's not usually
it's an end game play.
Generally it's an adversary, so it's kind of safe. It's kind of a safe haven for the jihadi player. Doesn't have to worry about war of ideas shifting Iraq. So you can easily leave that one till last. Get up to 3 resources and then rush into Iraq. And Iraq is nice and close to like the hot spots like Afghanistan or whatever. So you can get there easily. Yeah. And it can be, so that's why I find a lot of the Iraq-based cards tend to not get played too much, and certainly in Let's Roll and You Can Call Me Al, the first 2 scenarios, just because it's more of, at least in the games I've played, that Iraq is like the last country to go, and all the cards activate, but it's game over. So there's no
it's kind
benefit.
Of a moot point. Yeah.
I mean, if you can play this, great. It's a great card.
Go for it. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so going on to Sharia. Populace resists Islamist strictures.
So this can be useful, especially if the jihadi player has just attempted major jihad and missed, but they got 1 hit, which places a besieged regime. So this kind of makes them, they got to get 2 hits again. You know what I mean? Like in order to.
It's pretty situational, though, to be honest.
Yeah.
From what I've seen of it, I haven't seen you play it to great effect.
Yes.
for the event.
Yeah, the effect's pretty minor. As a U.S. player, I'm probably going to take the ups on this one, unless it's I happen to have the card at a moment when besieged regime would really slow you down. As a jihadi player, what would you say?
I'm not plotting this one. I would probably even let you have the position, because I think there are some cards like Somalia, I think at one point can get a besieged regime, like whatever.
Yeah. I mean, and besieged regimes are not that hard to reacquire. You just have to do something.
No, it's not a worry. I'm letting you have this event if I have to.
Yeah. So next up is Tony Blair.
PM champions unity against extremism.
Yeah. This one can actually be very, very useful as the U.S. Because you can you get the UK on your side, and you get to roll a war of ideas in up to 3 Schengen countries. So
and if you're soft, then it actually becomes pretty powerful.
Yeah.
The odds are that you're gonna hit on 2 of the 3, right?
Yes.
So.
Which means you get 2 prestige bump, a 2 prestige bump for doing it. So this is it can be a great if you happen to have lost the election, so to speak, like if you shift posture from, say, hard to soft, and the world is mostly on your side, you play this card, you can undo a lot of the damage and you can really shift the world,
bump the prestige
global war
back
on
up,
terror, back and
actually,
bump up
this
your
is
prestige.
This is one I would probably actually plot in general.
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on where you are in the game. I think this is as an early. Actually, if I was a jihadi player, I would be totally fine with playing this on the first turn.
Oh, sure.
Because
the
Schengen countries haven't been revealed yet, and so depending on the U.S. posture at that particular time, this could actually help.
It could potentially. I mean, it is 3 random rolls, so you just never know.
Yeah.
But the odds are saying that you're gonna. Hard's gonna get it 1 out of 3.
Yeah. Well, it might just set up a positive situation. It just depends. But certainly letting the event happen wouldn't be the end of the world, especially as in the earlier first turn or 2
parts of the
before
game.
Schengens are really decided. So yeah. Okay, next up is UN nation building.
Play if a country is marked with a besieged regime.
Or no, with a regime change.
Regime change. Okay.
Yeah, so place 1 aid there and roll a war of ideas as if the global war on terror penalty is 0. Now it's blocked by Vieira de Mello slain, but this can be a lifesaver. And here's a scenario. Let's say you do a regime change, the war. Let's say you have okay prestige, but the global situation is that they are against you. You're hard on terror; they are all soft, like soft negative. So you'd have a -2 or 3 rolls to your war of ideas. Mm-hmm. This places an aid, and then you get a war of ideas. So if you're lucky, you get after your regime change, you get a fair governance country. You get a roll at +1 to get that to good and end your regime change all in one swoop.
Yes.
So you can do regime change followed up with this, and boom, you can literally be out of there. So
if you're the jihadis, what I would say is this card is pretty easy to mitigate.
Yes.
But if the U.S. happens to regime change, then you got to plot this.
Yes. Yeah. Well,
you're not letting this card play.
Yeah. Although, I mean, if the global war on terror, overall, if the globe is on your side as the U.S. player, so let's say U.S. is hard and the rest of the world overall is hard on terror, then essentially all this does is place 1 aid. So, you do a war of ideas and you roll a 4, you're going to place an aid. So it's not necessarily very impactful, but it could be.
It could be.
And the other thing too is that if after the regime change, if the governance comes out as poor, it's less consequential, right? Because you could plot or do a minor jihad to get it right back down. Get that back to, even if the U.S. was successful with their rules. So.
Right.
But interesting, potentially, very influential card if in the right circumstances, but otherwise, not so much.
Yeah.
Wiretapping.
So we go into wiretapping, aggressive U.S. domestic surveillance.
Yes. So this one, again, can be great if you happen to have it when the jihadi makes a play to get a WMD, off in the U.S. You can remove everything, cells, cadres, plots in the U.S., UK, or Canada.
Just wipe it out. It all. Now, it can be blocked by leak.
Yes, but you can draw a card, right? So now what can be blocked by leak here, and this is maybe an important rules distinction, is you can play it once, but then the wiretapping marker goes down. If later on leak comes out, after that it can be blocked. So this card can cycle through if it doesn't get blocked by leak. You can play it again and again and again and again until it is blocked. So so it's again, it's if you have it at the right time, this can be incredibly powerful. You can take the wind out of the jihadi sails
pretty quick.
Quickly. So,
and we get to the 3 bangers now. So these are the ones that are a little more juicy.
Yes. And back channel, what do you think?
Secret diplomacy, play if U.S. soft. Well, so first off, you know what? If you get this card early when the U.S. is hard, it's a moot point.
Yes. Yeah.
So I'm not, and generally I do. So it's not usually coming into effect for me.
I find as a U.S. player, even if the U.S. is soft, and I have another card of exact value as an adversary's resource. You have to discard the card. You get an adversary to neutral, which is okay, but the thing is, if you are, let's say you're trying to get a rack from adversary to neutral, that means you have to play this card, which is a 3-up card, and then another 3-up card.
Right.
And that you get an aid, so it's okay, but like honestly, 3 ops in this game are like gold. And
I
just can't justify. I just can't justify that. It just seems to me to be a little bit too expensive for what it is. Yeah.
So the next one, Benazir Bhutto.
Benazir Bhutto, yeah.
Generally, as the jihadis, if you get this early game again, you don't have to worry about it because you're going to have Pakistan at Islamist rule.
Yes.
Or sorry, Afghanistan.
Afghanistan, yes.
So you don't have to really worry about it. I have seen you play it though, where if you've regime changed early enough,
or if you get out of the regime change early enough, it certainly helps. I mean, Musharraf can be a bit of a pain in the butt sometimes. Sometimes he's a help, and sometimes he's a pain in the butt because if you have Pakistan at good governance, he can undo all that work. But if Pakistan's at poor adversary, it can absolutely help. So
exactly.
So that's a kind of it depends on the situation, but blocking the jihad in Pakistan is really the
the
big
WMD,
thing,
right?
the WMDs. So, and shifting from poor to fair, obviously that helps as well because it makes operations cheaper in that spot. So it can be very helpful. And certainly
again, it's situational.
Yes, but it is tough to give up the 3 ops though, and that's the problem with some of these cards. When you get into the 3 ops, it's like, that's an expensive event to play. So
you have to really weigh it.
Yeah, I'd much rather see the jihadi player play it to my benefit, to be honest. But anyway, yeah. So enhanced measures.
And U.S. interrogates detainees roughly. Oh boy,
yes.
They're getting a little saucy.
Yeah.
So now this one early game, you start hard in our games that we mostly play.
Well, that's the let's roll scenario. Yeah.
Yeah, and the let's roll, and U.S. being hard, and then the disrupt possible is general.
Well, generally that's the case. Usually, if there's troops anywhere, there's usually a cell or 2 hanging around.
Yeah. So I mean, and it's punishing enough.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if it's something that the jihadists would rush to plot necessarily, but because you can play it towards the end of your turn, and sure, you give up a disruption, but you may not have any cards left in your hand,
or you have a card that's kind of a moot point.
Yes, right? and having these ones down means that leak can be played, and leak is a bit of a punishing event potentially for the U.S. So. Yeah, I in many cases, I would likely just hold this as a jihadi player. You just hang on to it till the end of the turn. Yeah.
What about the U.S.?
Then,
How
play
would you play it as U.S.? Would you use the event?
Yeah, it's definitely helpful because, especially again at the beginning of the turn, if you have the jihadi at low funding, to take them down on
another card.
Yeah, so like the jihadi would play their first 2 cards. They have 5 cards left, and then you play this, and now they have 4 cards left. And if you're if you have a card advantage or 2. Then that is, potentially a big advantage. So it's definitely worth considering. It's 3 ops is expensive, but of the 3 ops cards we've looked at so far, this is the one that I'm more likely to take as an event. I'll put it that way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then let's take a look at Hijab, peaceful expression of Muslim rights.
Is that? Oh, that's the next one. I'm gonna have to scroll across here. Okay, Hijab. Yes.
If no country is under Islamist rule, then the card plays test Turkey, improve its governance 1 level, select France's posture, and -2 funding. Oh,
yeah. So this is a
great
event.
As the you can mitigate this pretty well if I'm the jihadis, I'm playing this one very early in my turn.
Yes.
Just in case you want to monkey around.
The Turkey thing, I mean, potentially you could get a country at good governance out of this. Like if Turkey hasn't been tested.
And you're flipping,
and you roll fair and then boost
countries.
it.
Oh,
yeah, but and you select France's posture. So
and -2 funding.
Yeah, it's a solid event as long as there's no country under Islamist rule, which occasionally is tough to. It's tough to time these things, right? It's more.
So here's a question: if you were American playing this,
yes,
because I know for jihadis I'd play it right away. So in case you thought you'd get into Afghanistan early, would you, as the Americans, build your turn around this card?
Possibly. It is a table setter potentially for the next turn. So because if you save it for later on, and if Turkey isn't tested, you could literally flip you from the end of one turn to the beginning of the next. You could be in a completely different situation, right? Because you test Turkey, it tests fair, you improve its governance to good, you flip France to match your posture, you kill the funding.
It's a powerful.
Yeah,
like a very powerful.
This
card.
is a great card to hang on to until the end of your turn to really just literally flip the board situation on its head.
Yeah. Switch everything around, right? Yeah.
But if the conditions aren't met, I'm very happy to see those 3 ops. I'm happy to play that for the ops as well. So, I think it's a great card overall. It's a win either way for the U.S. player. And it's a great if it's an event that the jihadi player has to trigger, I'm totally fine with that. So that brings us to the end of the next 10 cards, and we'll probably basically have finished up the US events in the Labyrinth deck at the end of the next video. But please tune in and
yes. Find out the remaining, and actually the next video will actually feature the premium cards of the American player.
Yes, absolutely. So
all the best.
Yeah, looking forward to it. We hope you find this helpful and useful, and you're able to, think of Labyrinth a little bit differently when you play it next.
Yeah, and if you enjoyed it, please don't forget to like, subscribe.
And thanks so much for watching. This is NATO.
I'm Cax.
And this is
Legendary Tactics.